Welcome everyone to Ruslan Bortnik YouTube channel in English. My name is James Talberg, and today I'm here with Ruslan, and we're going to talk about what's happening in Ukraine and in general around the world. Ruslan, thank you so much for joining and finding time to share with us today your political research and the materials that you have prepped.
Hello, James, and thank you very much for such a great help for me in this channel. Thank you very much.
I want to start traditionally with what's happening on the front line in Ukraine. We have seen some news that the Russians are advancing on the eastern border. If we can just open up potentially the deep state map, and just want to say thank to the guys that are working on that material. It's very active and analytically correct at the moment. So just so we can see on the map where are the Russians are advancing and what are the potential threats for the Ukrainian army, or what are the potential opportunities to balance the situation on the eastern front line?
Okay, I will try. Of course, James, this is an entire territory of Ukraine, 600,000 square kilometers. It's the biggest country in Europe, even bigger than France or European part of Russian Federation. It's for our international audience. All this is Ukraine. The red painted part is occupied by Russian Federation part of Ukraine. Now Russia occupied more than 108,000 square kilometers of Ukrainian territories, or near 18% of Ukrainian territories. And bigger part of these occupied territories Russia obtained after 24th February 2022, after the full-scale invasion to Ukraine. Now the situation in the front line in Ukraine is very hard for Ukrainian forces, because Russian army still has a military initiative, and I think you see these arrows, red arrows. This is arrows. It's a directions of Russian offensive operation in Ukrainian lands. You can count how many arrows we can see. We see that Russia continues her offensive operations in more than 20 directions at the same time. So it's very hard for Ukrainian forces to defend all this battlefield line, all this front. Russia trying to stretch Ukrainian forces for all this front. So Russia started a new operation in the north of Kharkiv, in this region, Vovchansk and so on. This is Kharkiv, the first capital of Ukraine. And the last days, Russia tried to make an offensive operation on the Sumy direction, in these directions, but this offensive operation was not successful, and Ukrainian forces were able to defeat Russian military groups which were trying to obtain part territories near the border between Ukraine and Russia. But in generally, Russia is continuing her offensive operation, and Ukrainian forces are stepping back in the Donbas front, especially very hard situation near Avdiivka, Ocheretino. We are not able to stop this offensive operation from Russian military forces, and Russian military forces now is very close to the very important military road in Ukrainian lands, in Ukrainian Donbas. Only 6 kilometers till the road between the two big cities in Donbas, Pokrovsk and Konstantinovka, and Russia is trying to cut this line now, and Russia is to continue to the offensive operation to the Konstantinovka also, to the sorry for the quality of my lines, because it's computer mouse also. But
that's also, okay, yeah.
To Pokrovsk and Mirnograd. Also, Ukraine, this week, Ukrainian forces said that we lost our Platzdarm in the left bank of the Dnieper near Krinky. I will show you. Oh, sorry. We lost this left bank Platzdarm, which was made 1 year ago, and Ukrainian forces were evacuated from these lands to the right bank of Dnieper. Moreover, and it's very sorry to say me this now, we lost more than 1,000 persons in these territories, 1,000 persons which fate
Just during that fight?
During the fight, which fate is unknown for nowadays. We don't know what happened with these soldiers, but officially we lost 788 soldiers in these territories, and no bodies and no news about their lives, what happened with them.
So it's unknown in the moment.
Yes, yeah, it's very, very sorry, very hard situation. At the same time, Ukraine is preparing our offensive operation, new counteroffensive operation. Ukrainian president said that we are preparing this new counteroffensive operation because we have some people resources after mobilization, and we have some military equipment resources after the big package from United States. But it looks like the chances to success for this new offensive operation, counteroffensive operation from Ukrainian side is very low. We are not so strong like we was in 2023 when we was trying to cut the land bridge to Crimea, when we made a big counteroffensive operation in the South Front. We were not successful there, and it looks like we will not be successful and now this offensive operation. But we need to send a positive signal for society, for Western partners, about our ability to achieve our goals by military way, by military tools.
Just to summarize some of your points, would you be able to zoom again on the eastern part of Donbas, where you said that they're just 6 kilometers away from the road?
Very important road.
To add a little bit of clarity, that is the road that the Ukrainian military is subsidizing and transferring military equipment to those critical points where Russians are trying to advance at the moment. Is that correct?
I will show you now. This is very important road which unites two big Ukrainian offensive unities in Konstantinivka and Pokrovsk, Mirnograd. If Russia will cut this road, it means that the unity, the communication between these two big groups of Ukrainian forces
will be harder.
Will be much harder. And then if we lose this offensive line, Russia is able to continue her offensive operation to the main cities of Donbas, Sloviansk.
So they'll be able to cut a big chunk of the Ukrainian land.
Yeah, very dangerous situation.
Okay, and so we've got that point. I think that comes from tactical to a more strategical potential threat, because on the map that looks like a big chunk of a map, and on the southeastern part, you've mentioned in Kherson area that they have took over the bridge that was connecting between the two land masses. If we can go back to the south part, does that mean that the Russian army will be able or will try to take over the main city again?
I don't think so, but it means that Russian forces in this region, in this Krinky region, very famous from the very hard battles, these forces can after this success, they can make a much big pressure for Kherson again. The dangers for Kherson is growing up, or Russia can use these forces. Russia situated a lot of forces here. Russia can put these forces to another place of the front line. For example, to move them to Zaporizhia, because
it will be easier for them to hold that point without so many reserves.
Russia now is able to start a new offensive operation on the Zaporizhia direction because he elaborated her forces from this direction, and she has a new amount of free forces.
So we understand now the situation on the eastern and the south part of Ukraine. I want to move up to the north region of Ukraine, the situation between Ukraine and Belorussia. We had a lot of tensions last week, and it seems like they're cooling down now. I just want to citate the Belarusian president, Aleksandr Lukashenko. He's a close ally of Kremlin leader Vladimir Putin, and he said on Saturday that tensions had subsided at his country's border with Ukraine, and extra troops deployed there were being sent back to their bases. Does that actually mean that the tensions are going down, or that doesn't mean that Ukraine necessarily has to reduce her reserves on the northern part of its country?
I painted the red line. It's a border between Ukraine and Belorussia. And it looks like it's like a game from Belarusian side to make problem, to resolve the problem. It looked like it was a pressure for Ukrainian government and Western governments to start the negotiation with Belarusia. Belarusian leader, Mr. Lukashenko.
Negotiations about what?
I will see you. You know that few days ago, just yesterday, as I remember, Lukashenko said that they made a non-visa regime with the European countries. They announced a non-visa regime with European countries. Lukashenko wants to renew
relationships with the West,
with the European Union. And Lukashenko, of course, is clear understand that if he will not be able to make any negotiation with the West, he will be more and more dependent from the Russia, from the Putin. So Lukashenko is looking for a second leg to stand strong in his political position. And for me, it looks in this situation about the tensions on the Ukrainian-Belarusian border was an invitation to negotiation to the West and to the Ukraine also. Like this non-visa decision, which looks very strange, because in previous time, Lukashenko and Belarusian government few times said that West is going on to attack to Belarus, to occupy the Belarusian territories, and so on. And after this, they proclaim in a non-visa regime with the Western countries. It's a part of game. It's a part of game to disbalance the enemy, to disbalance the negative stand. Lukashenko is very professional in this kind of games.
So from one perspective, we can say that it's negative because obviously he's kind of like trying to wear two hats. From one perspective, he's playing the card of let's increase the tension. But at the same time, he's doing it to later say, oh, we can actually resolve it peacefully and out your area.
But at the same time, this rhetoric from Lukashenko pushed Ukraine to gather a lot of forces near the borderline, and of course.
And from that perspective, he's helping his ally, the Russian President Vladimir Putin, because a lot of the reserves.
Because we need these resources in the east of Ukraine, and now
they are critical.
To keep them here in the borderline. Of course, it helped Russian forces also. But in the end, I want to say that the Lukashenko words about the resolution of the problem, for me, they don't look very trusting. For me, it's quite possible it's only a game, and this the risk of escalation in Ukrainian
It's still
Belarus
there.
borderline is still very high, because not everything is dependent on position of Lukashenko in Belarus now, and Russian absence, Russian presence, Russian presence in Belarus is very high.
Just want to add a point that I think is very important. You've mentioned that he's playing that game to start negotiations with the European Union to potentially make a non-visa regimen between Belarus and the European Union. I think that's a positive situation where we can say that he's not fully dependent, or he's at least trying to be not fully dependent on his Eastern ally, right? If he's trying to play that game, he's kind of like opening the door for the West to participate in political discussion and political negotiation. I think it's important for the West to take advantage of that situation and try to optimize from the war perspective as much as possible into a political spectrum, the negotiations and the potential agreements that they can settle between themselves.
Yes, you're right. Lukashenko is trying to save as much sovereignty as he can now. Now he tried to make a maneuver between China and Russia, but it's not enough to feel strong in this situation. So Lukashenko is looking for restarting the negotiation with the West, and Lukashenko is still willing to be one of the main mediator between Russia and Ukraine, also in the peace conflict resolution.
And it's positive for Ukraine. Do Ukrainian leaders understand that it's positive for their country and they should take advantage of it?
I hope so. I hope so, but I'm not sure, because we made a lot to the worsening of Ukrainian-Belarusian relations. We was the first country in the world which hadn't recognized last Belarusian presidential election. Of course, we have a lot of amendments and a lot of critics to that elections, but nobody pushed us to be the first country which proclaimed Lukashenko illegal. This is one of the reasons why Russia was able to use the Belarusian lands like a starting point to aggression, to the intervention in Ukraine in the beginning of the war also.
I think we can only hope that the leaders have learned from that situation and they could be a little wiser.
I hope so.
Future situations. You've mentioned the peace negotiations that the Belarusian president can potentially or want to play in the future peace negotiations its own role. But just in general, if we touch the peace negotiation part, what are the possibilities of peace negotiation in 2024? Do we have anything that we can hold to? Are there any like visible situations where we can actually see any movements towards those peace negotiations?
I hope the big peace negotiations really will start after the end of presidential election in the United States, because we hear a lot of announcements about this. We see a lot of statements from the Trump side, from Biden's side on this topic. Also, China and Russia said that we will start negotiation till the end of the year. Also, Ukraine and president of Ukraine, they are going to make a second peaceful summit till the end of this year. So a lot of announcements now, and I hope but we need to divide this situation to the two roads, to the two paths. The first road is a conflict resolution. The term of conflict is much wider than the term of war. War, it's a military tool of conflict. The
last tool.
Yes, the last tool of the conflict, the military presentation of the conflict. But we also have political, we also have economical conflict. Conflict is much wider. And it looks like maybe a new American president will try to find the resolution for all the conflicts. But if this president will not be very successful, or maybe sides will start negotiation only about the war ending, about the freezing the conflict, about the armistice, on something like this, about the military side without the economical and political side. So I'm sure that we will take a window for peaceful resolution for all the conflict, starting from the beginning of November and in the January 2020.
You mean Ukraine is ready to take advantage of a potential peaceful plan that the new president will offer?
Ukraine is ready to now Ukrainian position is much softer than it was before. Ukraine now is more ready to accept compromises than it was before. So there is a good chance. But if we will not be successful in this fall and in this winter, it could mean that this war will continue for the next few years.
Does that mean that the war just will continue as is, or that can potentially escalate into a bigger war?
With some type of escalation and freezing, it's like an American really.
So it's going to be a flowing crisis, but no potential bigger escalation than what we see right now.
It can happen, but I am sure that no one country in the world willing to make a war, third world war, or willing to make a nuclear conflict.
We have witnessed the failed assassination of the former President Donald Trump. In your perspective, does that mean that he's going to gain additional points for his election in November? And just in general, what does that mean from the political perspective for Donald Trump?
Many experts say that it was a victory salute for Trump, and of course it was a very dangerous salute because
a tragic, like it was
two centimeters left and
from tragedy.
And it could be a tragedy, and it could be not only a personal tragedy, it could be a political tragedy, because I think in this situation, United States, we will stand in very deep political crisis.
That would unbalance them.
It will be a very hard situation. Now it looks this not successful assassination attempt gave for Trump more points this election campaign, and I think that Trump is more possible winner of this competition. If I was talking before, it was 51 to 49% balance between Trump and Biden.
Trump 51 and Biden 49, or the opposite?
Now it looks like 60 to 40. But Biden still has a good chances also to win. What happened?
I feel like he has like unlucky event after another unlucky event. He haven't performed well during the debate. Now the situation where a failed assassination over former President Donald Trump, and debates are, I think, more his physical situation, but I think the failed assassination is a little bit more critical for them, because Democrats and personally President Joe Biden, they have kind of called up for violence against Trump. Are they going to hold any responsibility?
You're right. The main problem for Biden now is that she has to shut up in his critic to Trump.
It will be very hard for him.
Because if he trying to do with Trump something that they did before, claiming Trump in all the problems, making the image for him like the head of the evil, it will look like a call to the new assassination attack. And Biden is not.
Or just saying that, hey, we're actually responsible for the previous one because we keep.
And
Yeah.
in the situation when the half of American society is suspecting Democrats and near Democrats in this situation. So the old strategy, election strategy of Biden's election strategy is broken now. And Biden Biden needs to find something else. So they started to companies against Vance, against Musk, and against another environment, another members of the team of the Trump. But it's only an additional track, substitutional track. It can change situation a lot. So if Biden's team will not find some trick, some miracle trick even, they will lose this company, of course. And it's a very big dangers for all democracy party, because if the Biden will lose this election very hard, very deep, for example, 70-30 in the end of calculation, it will mean that the Democratic Party will lose new election to the representative, the lower part.
On the lower, yeah. Exactly.
It's a lower part of the American Congress, and it will arise a very big dangers of disappearing all Democratic Party in the future, because nowadays we have only two-party system in the United States, but it was not so old uses history of United States. This they had before three-party system, and the names of that party was quite another, not Republicans or Democratic. This system also is changing in the crisis time. So the Democratic elites are afraid of this situation, and they are pushing Biden to say stop, to say I'm out of company, to free the road for the younger, for the maybe more successful competitor for Trump.
So you think that crisis can grow into a more systematic political crisis inside the United States?
This crisis could rebuild all this political system, starting from the more Democrats and in the Republican Party also.
Right. Thank you so much for your comments today. And I just want to mention to our viewers that Ruslan Bortnik is the head of the Ukrainian Institute of Politics, and they have their own website where they share weekly or monthly research or political reports. We're going to add a link to that video so you guys can follow in the subscription, find that website so you can view those materials and learn from them. Again, Ruslan, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, James. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.